Hello again. As we approach the new year, it's often a time for reflection, and it's a perfect time to work out some sustainable routines, get a good routine and create some good habits that move you forward into building your fitness in the coming year to achieve higher goals than you did perhaps last year, avoid making similar mistakes to what you made in previous years, and perhaps doing better or doing more challenging events in the future to come. If you've watched previous summer videos, you'll know that I like quite simple things, I like modular things, I like to be able to have things that are easily progressive, and I also like to work with a fairly fixed weekly routine. Obviously it needs to be flexible, we've all got to live our life and we've got life commitments, but doing similar things on similar days each week can be a good way to understand what's happening, what might be making you tired, what might be more effective than something else, and where to make changes. So setting up that weekly routine now and starting to test it as you move forward. And the sooner you set it up, the sooner you start learning, the sooner you can optimize it. So I quite like to start with this spreadsheet planner. You can download a copy if you follow the link in the description. And what I do is I start out by, I put the event in, my goal event or my goal event, so the goal events are the people that I'm working with, and also then start to build a weekly routine. I can see the number of weeks to the event, and then I look at what days we might do certain activities. Like if the weekend's family time, then obviously the weekend's not a time for spending a lot of time training. Or if the weekend's not family time, if you're just on your own or you're a couple, you might be able to commit a big block of training over the weekend. You might be able to load up Friday evening, Friday afternoon, do a big ride or a big run on Saturday, and similarly on Sunday. And certainly that's what we used to do when we were younger and we didn't have any commitments. Our weekends were focused actually, just on training, and that can work really well. But if you don't do much at the weekend, Monday can be a good day to capitalise on with a high intensity training session. So spending a bit of time looking at your week and not getting hung up on what other people might be doing or what the YouTubers might tell you to do or what you might read online as being the perfect system. Think about what you need and what sessions you might need to fit into your week. Pick the days where you've got more time and the days where you might have more energy, and then you can apportion high intensity or strength work to the days where you've got more energy, and you might be able to do a bit more volume on the days you might be tired on certain days, but you still might be able to do a bit more volume of endurance training work. So get your week in place around your life so it all integrates nicely. And then you might like to put in like your holidays, things you've got to do. You might be going away with work, and that gives you a starting framework for some harder and easier weeks. So rather than think I'm going to do 2 weeks hard, 1 week easy, 3 weeks hard, 1 week easy, or follow one of these fixed structures which can form a good framework, think about when you're going to have an enforced easy week, and then you can schedule a roughly 2 hard, 1 easy, 3 hard, 1 easy, or whatever structure, but accounting for that. Or when you've got an event, if you've got a big event planned or you want to do a big practice training session, if you're training for ultra endurance type events, then you obviously need to have a fairly easy time before it and an easy time after it, so that gives you a bit more structure. So then you've got a rough structure for the days of each week and a rough structure for the weeks up until your event. And then you can start filling in the details. I quite like a system that I've sort of stolen from a chap called Frank Horwill. Frank Horwill created this so-called 5-pace system, which was used by people like Sebco and other runners. It was designed for runners, and the 5 paces were like 400 metre, 800 metre, 1500 metre, 3000 metre and 5000 metre paces. And based on the fact that these were for elite athletes, you could say roughly a 400 metre pace might be your best 1 minute power, or your best 1 minute pace. Your 800 metre pace might be your best 2 minute power or pace. Up to your 5000 metre pace might be your best 14 or 15 minute power or pace. And then you've got these powers to work with to create your training sessions, your high intensity training sessions. You can see on the screen the rough progression of where this fits in the zone model. So how it works is your 1500 metre pace might be your sort of 4 or 5 minute pace or power. You have the same duration recovery as the effort. You might do 400 metres in a minute and then jog 200 metres in a minute, and then you do another 400 And I know that, I mean, that's not really feasible for most people, but that's how the system was developed, and I've just adapted it to base it on durations. And then as you go faster, so your 800 metre pace, you get twice the duration of recovery. 3,000 metre pace, you get half the duration of the recovery as the effort, and 5,000 metre pace, you get a quarter the duration of the effort for recovery. So if you're doing minute efforts, you get 15 seconds recovery, which is very short. So I use the 5-pace system to set interval sessions, which are your training sessions in your training zones 4 and 5, your high intensity work. And then I just use normal like tempo and endurance pace for the other sessions. So I'd probably aim for 2 or 3 hard sessions a week, and a hard session would be a high intensity session like your 5-pace system, a tempo session, and a longer endurance session. If you're training for long events, you have to do some longer training sessions. And then that's into your weekly framework. In the winter, if you're in the northern hemisphere and the weather's getting quite bad and most of your training has to be indoors, or you have to keep warm when you're outdoors, you might want to do 2 high intensity sessions per week until you can start getting outdoors. And actually that can be quite good, because if you built enough fitness to get to the end of your event, if you're not troubled by the distance and you're just really working to get faster, doing 2 high intensity sessions a week can be an effective way to go, particularly in the winter period, until you become more specific with your training. So you've now got your weekly routine, what you do on each day each week, your schedule for the weeks, which weeks you're going to have higher volume, which weeks you're going to have lower volume, or your hard weeks and your easy weeks. And then you've got a structure for your intensity zone. So you've got an endurance pace, your endurance zone, your sort of zone 2 type stuff, your tempo zone, your sort of zone 2, lower end of zone 4. Your tempo zone, your sort of zone 3, lower end of zone 4, and then your high intensity zones, which you can use this 5-pace modular system for. So a good way to start might be to do 2 fairly short high intensity training sessions. So you're giving a good stimulus, you're going to get faster. Start with might be a 1,500 metre pace session and a 3,000 metre pace session. So you might be doing 4 by 3 minutes with 3 minutes recoveries. So that's like a VO2 max type training session for your 1,500 metre pace session, and your 3,000 metre pace session might be 6 by 2 minutes with a minute recovery. So they're both quite short sessions, particularly for cyclists, but you're going to know you've done them, you're working at high intensity, you're getting time in zone, and it's going to have an impact, but not a massive amount of fatigue. And then you can build the volume of those sessions. As your speed increases, you'll be able to sustain the given speed for longer. So your 1,500 metre pace in January might be your 3,000 metre pace in April, for instance. And similarly, your 3,000 metre pace might become your 5,000 metre pace as you just get able to sustain that given pace. And consequently, the sessions can progress. So in the same way, you can increase the volume of the sessions by doing more reps. You reduce the recovery because you can recover faster from a given intensity. And in that way, you're progressing towards a more endurance-based training. I know most of your endurance athletes, endurance cyclists, endurance runners, and that's a nice way to progress your fitness, your interval training sessions, increase your endurance volume, increase your average speed. So you can now create good habits by doing similar things on similar days each week, which will take you forward and get into a good routine. So rather than thinking about what am I going to do on what day, you know, I'm doing my interval training session, I'm doing a 3,000 metre pace session, it's going to be so many efforts at a certain duration, and it's going to have certain recoveries, and you don't have to think about planning the session in great detail because you just use this 5-pace system, which hopefully makes some sense. If not, I think I've done a whole video on the 5-pace system and how it applies to cyclists and runners using duration rather than using the distances. So you've got your good habits, you've got a structure for the year up to your event, you've got your structure for your interval training sessions. You're basically trying to increase the volume, do as much training as possible without compromising your high intensity training sessions, and you can track it all using this, this traffic light system. So if you use the link in the description, download the traffic light system combined with the planner. This will help you structure your season, and then you can track it, how each day is going, which is a holistic way of checking progress, and that helps you identify where to make changes, change your habits a little bit so that you continually training consistently and effectively, and your life's consistent and effective, and that gives you best chance of progress. It's a good way of spotting patterns, and well, if you watch the previous videos, you'll get a bit more of an explanation of that. So hopefully that all helps. You've got tools to plan your season, you've got a systematic way of progressing your season, and you've got ways of tracking it with the standard tools like Garmin, TrainingPeaks, and then this traffic light tracker, which gives you a bit more of a sort of a helicopter, a wider view of it, and you can spot the patterns and then dig into the detail and see what can change. We're here to help. We have the EBR Cycling Club, the EBR Running Club, work with other people, get a training plan that can be tailored for you, email support. We have our weekly workshops. On every Monday we have a workshop or a question and answer session. And the group rides that we're starting to do on TrainingPeaks virtual. We'd love to have you on board. And if you want some more detailed one-to-one coaching that would be tailored exactly to your needs with an interactive process with either myself or Claire, then we'd love to work with you. And if you are interested in the EBR Club, then we've got a 3-month, 6-month or a 1-year offer if you want to save on the monthly subscription. It'd be great to have you on board, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.